Hey, MGTOW. Today, I'm going to talk about loneliness. Loneliness seems to be something that's really afflicting our society today. There's a guy who's on, I think he's on XM or Sirius or something. I don't fucking know. I don't have it, so. But his name's Jim Norton, and he was telling Joe Rogan that he lives in an apartment building and there's like 1,000 apartments or something ridiculous amount in the building, and he doesn't know any of his neighbors, and he lives in New York City. Like, how can you live in a city like that? Like, when you sit back and you listen to what he said, and I start thinking about it, I'm like, fuck, I'm pretty much the same way. There's not that many people in my apartment building, but I don't know my neighbors. Like, I see, if I run into one of them in the hall, I may say hi or whatever, but I don't hang out with them. I don't know most of their names. My one neighbor who lives next to me, she moved in last summer, and I started talking to her. She's only like 18 or 19, and she's from because like the place I live, I'm not from there. I grew up in a little town not far from here, and that's where she's from. And she told me that, so I was talking to her. Oh yeah, I'm from there too, and blah blah blah. And we hung out once, and she's she's nice because we were talking on a Saturday, and she came by, and then we just had some pizza together, and she's just a kid, you know what I mean? And I don't know, a couple weeks later, because the view from my apartment looks out into the neighborhood, away from the busy street, and it's in the summertime. It's all there's a lot of trees, so you can't really see the houses that well. So when it's quiet, it looks like I live out in the middle of nowhere. And so a lot of times I'll go out and I'll just watch I'll stand at the window and just watch the squirrels and that run around. Because sometimes they chase each other and they fight and shit like that. So, and I've always been a nature lover. So, but one day, after I had pizza with that girl, I go out to the window and I'm just looking around. Just something I do, right? Not spying on anybody. I like to do it when it's quiet, like early in the morning, when there's nobody out, because then it's nice and peaceful, and it's just, I can pretend that I live in the middle of nowhere, all right? And so I went to the window and I looked outside and I heard something, and I looked down, and she was out there with her dog, and she looked up just as I looked down. So now she's fucking, I don't know, now she doesn't talk to me. I have no idea why. I think she thinks that, like, I was fucking spying on her or something. I don't know, it's fucking stupid. But, because I saw her a couple days, was it last week? I saw her when I was leaving to go to work, and she looked at me like I did something wrong to her. So I was just like, fuck. So just so you know, fucking, I have problems with women too. Like, looks like I'm being accused of something I didn't do. So, but with the loneliness, our city populations are getting bigger and bigger, and people don't know their neighbors. They don't talk to each other. When I was a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s, all the households knew each other. Everybody watched each other's children to make sure that and kept the peace in the neighborhood, and it was a much better way to grow up in a much more civilized time, and it's really tragic what's going on now. But with so many people are lonely now. And I'm sure you've seen it in other videos where guys talk about the crazy cat lady and all this shit, right? Well, that's what happens with women. They lose their fucking mind after a while, and they don't get it back. That's why you see these women that are hoarders. And don't get me wrong, there's men too. But it seems that men handle loneliness a lot better. My mouth's a little dry here, guys. That's better. But you don't have to be lonely. Well, that's the thing. You know, I know it's tough. You're working. You don't have time. You know, but the thing is, if you really want, you can get a dog, and a dog will, you know, be there. You know, but if you don't get a dog if you're not home enough to take care of it. Okay, don't do that, because that's not fair to the dog. You know, don't be selfish like that. But if you have a regular job where you work 8 hours, then then you can get a dog, right? If you're going to be home every day, then you should get the dog. But there's all kinds of ways. You can make friends online. You know, if you don't have a lot of friends where you are. But you don't have to be lonely. There's, you can go out, you can join a gym, or take up a hobby where you can meet other people. Don't go to bars, because bars are fucking bullshit. You know, if you're with your friends and you go to a bar out once in a while, that's one thing. But to go out to meet people, the bars are not the best places. Trust me, because I worked in them for 15 years. Oh, and a lot of times you meet somebody and you think, hey, this guy's all right, and he turns out to be a real piece of shit. So, or you meet some broad and you're thinking, oh fuck, I wouldn't mind going out with her or whatever, and then she turns out to be a fucking loser too. So, the bars are not the best places to meet people. But you don't have to be lonely, is what I'm trying to tell you. That's a choice too. So many things are a choice, and you just don't realize it because people don't tell you that, right? Like I said, when I talked about sadness, that's a choice. Some things are unavoidable, but if it's something that's lingering, keeps going on and on and on and on, then you're choosing to be like that. It's like with what the fuck was his name? Darryl Strawberry. Darryl Strawberry used to be a pitcher in the major leagues. I think he's with the Mets, among other teams. Might have been with the Yankees too. I'm not sure, but I'm not a baseball fan, guys, so I don't know that much about it. But he had a bad drug problem, and it got him in a lot of trouble. And his coach, or I don't know if it was his coach or it was a coach of another team, but the coach knew him. I think it was Tommy Lasorda. He used to coach the Dodgers. And he said about Darryl Strawberry, he said, Darryl doesn't have a drug problem. Darryl has a weakness problem. And like so many people, until I heard that, you would hear that, drug addiction, alcoholism, and all that. It's a disease. It's a disease. It's a disease, right? And it's not. And you have a very small percentage of the population that are, they'll get addicted to anything. And all the other people that are drunks and drug addicts, they're self-medicating. They're covering up. They're putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Is basically what they're doing when they get drunk or they get high, or and that's a choice. Instead of facing the problem head on, whatever it is. And some problems are pretty horrific. Maybe they were, suffered abuse as a child, or could be any number of things. But that's a lot of the times that's what it is, right? And they've never sat down and tried to deal with what happened because they don't know how. So they choose the easy route. And just like with loneliness, it's a choice. Like, you don't have to be lonely. Everything's a choice in this life. So, for the most part, I'm saying when it comes to you and how you live your life and your emotions and that. So, you can make a choice not to be lonely. To say, I'm going to go out and I'm going to meet some people, or I'm going to take up a hobby and maybe I'll make some friends through that new hobby, like archery or marksmanship, or going to the gym. Maybe you can meet some guys there, like-minded guys, wherever. But to sit around the house and say, oh fuck, I'm so lonely, that's the fucking bitch move. Okay? So don't be like that. All right? And you can always, fuck, man, if you want, you can reach out to me or reach out to these other MGTOWs. I've met plenty of guys through this movement. I don't talk to all of them on a regular basis, but there's a few that I do. They're good guys. I'm glad I met them. So, in closing, choose, if you're lonely, make the choice not to be lonely. But don't get into a relationship with a woman just so you can not be alone and not be lonely, because that can blow up in your face. Right? Be a man that stands on his own 2 feet, and is responsible for himself. Don't blame other people for your problems, and be smart enough not to fucking get yourself into any trouble. And having a foresight to be able to see down the road so you can avoid any dangers that are going to come your way. Right? And learning to solve your problems, well, you're not going to learn to solve them until you try. So, that's all I got to say on this. And if I ranted a little bit, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get a point across here. So, you guys take care, and go MGTOW. Later.